For battles 35 to 48, the sets that the AI can use are pretty limited. They really only use one or two of each Pokemon, and most trainers only use a single set for a specific Pokemon. So you get a lot of information that way, and knowing what they're using, you can really use specific Pokemon to take them out. But it gets kind of stally when I do that. For example, Skarmory here is pretty much 100% to beat Shuckle. Like, I never worry about it. I just have to wait it out. But that takes a lot of time, which means, especially since I was playing fully on cartridge, all my testing, all the learning I was doing on cartridge, it's taking forever. So when I would lose, I try to record the battle just so that the lesson would be able to stick in my mind better and I could go back through it later. So here are some of those. So for this battle, I actually eventually get bored of trying to stall out Shuckle completely and realize that I can probably switch in um, Salamence pretty early. The Intimidate will mean the rollout won't do much, and I can get out of there. And I've probably already, stopped some of the rollout PP. So I switch into Salamence, and Dragon Dance does its thing and crushes Shuckle. Then they bring in a Heracross, as you'll see. Salamence easily one-shots it. Then they bring in Armaldo, which Armaldo is just a monster because it has Sword Stance, and it's tough to one-shot. To one-shot it, you pretty much need like Starmie with Surf. So what ends up happening is it'll Swords Dance, and then its Rock Slide will one-shot me. It'll basically be able to Swords Dance faster than I can Intimidate. Like, if you're going to combat it, you really need Charm, so you're at least, forcing them down as fast as they're going up. So that's the problem, is try and stall it out, like with Skarmory here. Even if I go all the way up in defense, eventually they're going to crit before they run out of PP. If you had pressure that would run them out twice as fast, you might be able to avoid crits more. But it's basically just a matter of time, and it usually happens pretty fast too, where they're too offensive with the Sword Stance. Pretty much the same thing happens with Marowak, another really strong one. There's some other Swords Dancers to look out for, like Scyther, but honestly, Scyther doesn't have that great of moves, lower defense, easier to one-shot. So Scyther's a lot easier to deal with, especially with the Pokemon that I bring in particular. Uh, there's some Dragon Dancers out there, which, depending on the sets, are similar in difficulty, but like are much easier to fight against. Especially depending on the move sets. Like they're not too bad against Skarmory, because like, were they gonna do Aerial Ace return? Like, their Earthquakes won't hit Skarmory at all. So lots of resisted hits, not much damage. So this Shuckle dies in about 30 seconds. The next battle begins at 540, and it's just Armaldo sweeping me again. The next battle after that is different, and it starts at 640. Okay, so here we are. Esther's got a Miltank. This Miltank at -1 is pretty easily walled by Skarmory. You just sit here and curse. Now, my latest sets will have Skarmory with Curse and Whirlwind. So Skarmory, the my Pokemon in the Palace will use certain AI incentivizing logic, um, which means that it'll curse 6 times and then it'll start using Whirlwind whenever it rolls a support move. Um, so the interesting thing is like even at +6 double team, if it had like leftovers rest or something where it would take forever, you can just wait and eventually you'll hit it with the roar. There it goes, and you don't have to deal with the double team anymore. This Espeon is a problem. It has Calm Mind and Attract. Espeon is 90% male. I believe that'll happen in the tower as well. And so you'll definitely want either a genderless or a male um, Pokemon if you're going to try and stall it out. But basically, it only has its weak point is it only has 10 psychics, which are packed far more of a punch than bite. But if you get a single critical hit, it'll just plow through your amnesias. It should be pretty frail, so you can get one hit in and KO it, but it's also fairly fast. Okay, so here we've got a Vileplume showing up. Now, Vileplume can't really do that much damage, so it's pretty safe to set up on it with Glaurung because Vileplume might hit you below 50%. Trigger the second mode for Hasty so that Glaurung's mostly attacking. And then you've got a boosted stat mostly attacking Salamence, and you are just golden. Now that didn't happen, so I wasn't gonna mess around because I know Alakazams can be dangerous. They can be calm minding or they can have Ice Punch. So I just switched out, even though I probably could have one shotted at like you know the 70% chance of attacking. But here we go. We're trying to stall him out. Oh, we got a Toxic, except he had a Lum Berry. And we basically just get plowed through by a couple of boosted Psychics. So a similar story as Espeon, just feels a little less dangerous. Okay, so what's going on for this battle is he's got a Slowbro, and I've looked it up. His Slowbro has Earthquake. Now, with a couple Intimidates off, you're laughing at these Earthquakes. They're doing less than 25%, and that's plenty of time to get a rest in. So, I'm just going to switch back and forth, Intimidate, hopefully waste some Earthquake PP. Um, Here I'm realizing, hey, this guy is just blasting me with Psychic, so I'll switch into Skarmory, tank that Psychic, and then he'll be forced to use another move, which will be Surf, which won't be as effective against Lanturn. So, really great switching there. And all I really need right now is like a curse. So, geez, that must be like his, fifth or sixth Psychic. So, not bad. We're almost out of the woods here. Oh, but look at that. Just completely blasted. Didn't move. That's why it's so dangerous to just sit around on your opponent in the Battle Palace. Because honestly, this Slowbro gets walled by Lanturn all the time. Uh, I think that was actually a pretty close match there. I'm wondering, maybe I should have switched more and tried to stall out more psychics. That must have been like at least 8 psychics on camera. So we'll see. I don't really feel bad about that matchup or like it needs improvement because since then I have 3 live streaks on separate cartridges that are all to 48. So that should be a simple battle. We'll just move on to the next. Kind of a long battle here, so I upped it from 2 times speed to 4 times speed. Man, playing on cartridge is really slow. Anyways, he goes and uses knockoff, which means he's not sword stance, but knockoff is actually kind of dangerous here. No recovery on this Skarmory anymore. Just waiting till I run out of power, but I should be able to beat this Armaldo, especially with a curse. And now, what do I do against this Aggron? Well, I just got crit by a focus punch, and I'm not really doing much damage, but there's really not much use for the Skarmory anymore, so I'm just gonna attack, get some more HP off before I switch, because, what else am I gonna do? Alright, so this should be easy, except another crit. I have 2 moves that just OHKO Aggron super easily, but Hasty not having as high chances of attacking the first time, makes you really susceptible to critical hits. Where for my earlier rounds, I'll just use sassy attackers so that you're even higher chances to just attack that first go. So, okay. Lost to basically double crits here. Was really thinking earlier I could have, survived some focus punches, maybe get some more curses off there and worn him down a lot more. Or maybe I should have just switched him out. Who knows? Well, whatever. So this video is actually of a win. I just wanted to show off how good Intimidate is at supporting the other the other defenders. It's really cool that it just always happens. Like it's like a growl that you can actually control in the palace, which just makes it super strong. Really hard to find good intimidators. I actually end up going with Gyarados for most of my runs now, just based on typing. It solves a lot of holes Skarmory and Lanturn do, but it seems pretty clear that the best Intimidator is Salamence, and maybe the best thing to do with it is just more attacks, but I got really lucky with a really strong Salamence, so use it for quite a while. Something that I've learned to do now is if the opponent has counter, you need to control the number of attack boosts you have by switching out if you have too many attack boosts to where the counter is going to OHKO you, with both Salamence and Skarmory. But here they've got 2 Pokemon left, and we've got 2 Pokemon. So hopefully I don't need a physical wall, basically. But what I'm doing is I'm switching back and forth with Salamence and Lanturn because The opposing Salamence has that Dragon Claw, which is easily walled by Lanturn. But how am I going to stall out all those physical moves? I'm going to need some more debuffs. You can see there, those are really acceptable amounts of damage. So I'm going to be all rest, wake up, rest again. He's going to run out of power points eventually. I decided to switch out on a turn that I've already rested. Basically, I've decided that I'm going to win with Lanturn. I don't really have that much use for Salamence. I can probably try and get some more Intimidates off. And at this point, the marginal usage of a Salamence that's still alive is pretty good, especially since there are lots of physical attackers or mixed attackers that have Earthquake that you can bait with Lanturn, then switch into Salamence and basically take no damage while -1ing their attack. That's allowing Lanturn to stall out even farther. I think a lot of these games I played pretty fast and loose, but I've learned to be a lot more careful and actually look up sets nowadays when I'm 6 hours into a run. All right, that's all from me. See you next time.